This conference will
Meeting
now
to
be
order.
recorded.
Town clerk, please call the roll.
Member Arceli?
Here.
Member Sloat?
Here.
Member Martell?
Here.
Vice Chair Bingham?
Here.
And Chair Hendon.
Present.
Oh, you do have to be different.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Switching around, Jim, because the first party's not here again.
First order of business would be to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Is your mic on?
Can you guys please use your microphone, please?
No, I'm talking, so I move that we approve the minutes of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The proceedings are now called to order on agenda item number 3, a quasi judicial hearing to consider the variance request of 26 Harbor Drive. Town clerk, please read the agenda item title.
This is a second continuation. It is an application submitted by Angel Darling Johnson as owner of the parcel of property located at 26 Harbor Drive South, which is Florida 23435, requesting a variance from the provisions of the Land Development Code, Chapter 64, Zoning, Article 3, Supplemental Regulations, Section 64-41, Accessory Uses, Buildings, and Structures generally, to permit a sun trellis to be located 2 foot 6 inches from the legal property line. The variance would allow for 2 foot 6 inch setback for the sun trellis from the property line and a relief of 22 feet 6 inches from the 25 foot required setback. This property is located at 26 Harbor Drive South property.
At this time, any ex parte communication should be either disclosed by identifying the subject of the communication and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, or any correspondence be provided to the town clerk and made part of the public record. In addition, each member of the board may identify the existence of any investigations or site visits he or she has conducted, or any expert opinions received, and disclose any conflicts of interest on this matter. Bob?
As I indicated before the November meeting, I did make a site visit, but I have not been back since.
Betty?
I've had a number of people talk to me. I'm very poor with names and I can't, but I have talked to some of the people in the neighborhood.
In the neighborhood, okay.
Yes, I have a statement for ex parte for the record. After a few days of our previous meeting, I had a brief 2-sentence conversation with the applicant while driving in my golf cart with my wife and my dog. The applicant was standing in the road speaking to another neighbor, and as I drove by, the applicant called out, "I will be by your house for you to sign my letter." I replied, "I can't and I won't," and then drove off. Since then, the applicant has been spreading false rumors in the community that I told her to F off. This is completely untrue. I've never used that language or made any such statement. It is possible that the applicant misheard me, or she may be deliberately fabricating the story. I have never said anything remotely close to what she alleges, and I find it difficult to understand how she claims she has a witness, especially when this incident never occurred.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, after the meeting that I attended back in October, I went to their property, I looked at the project, and I looked at basically gave her some of what I was thinking as an engineer, and that was the conversation I had.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may just follow up on Dr. Martell's statement. Dr. Martell, based on your statement, do you believe you can still serve as an impartial board member and make your decision based on the evidence and testimony that's been presented in the prior hearings and today's hearing?
100%.
Okay, thank you.
I have nothing to add. We'll then proceed with the hearing on this matter. Will the town clerk please swear in the witnesses?
Will anyone wishing to speak on this item, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? When you are called up, please state your name and your address clearly for the record and whether or not you've been sworn in.
The town staff will now make its presentation on this matter.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members, Corey O'Gorman, Town Planner. This is, as you know, a continuation from the last meeting. The applicant was requested to provide some additional information. I'm not aware that it's been provided to staff at this time, so we'll look to the applicant to provide that information. There was also some additional information that was sent out to the applicant and staff regarding chronology of the application. And Christy, did you want to touch on that this morning?
Sure, absolutely, Mr. Chair, pleasure. We sent out an email regarding the timeline of this variance request because it's gone through several different iterations, and we just wanted to make everybody on the same page for today's hearing. If you didn't have an opportunity to review that email, I'm happy to go over it now, so we're all on the same page. The applicant was also copied on that email, and it will be made part of the record for this matter. So if you need me to go over it, I'm happy to go over it.
I'm okay, I saw it.
Yeah, I've received it, Betty.
I
Okay,
received
no,
it.
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I printed it.
The applicant will now make its presentation on this matter.
The only reason I came back with the third variance, first off, the timeline was not correct. The balcony has been completed, and it was completed when I went for the second variance. So please make note of that.
Yes.
Second, Mr. Martell, you did curse at me, and I have a witness, and you tried to contact that witness 3 times.
As I have a witness.
Fine. You lied. You're a liar. I'm just letting you know that. And I don't feel that you should be here today.
Great.
That's how I feel. I feel totally, I can't even begin to say how upset I am with this town. I think this town is horrible right now. To put me through this, I haven't slept since the last freaking meeting, quite frankly. I'm not okay. And I'm just asking to go 5 more feet, and that's such a big deal to this board. And it's not taking the project 5 feet, it's just trying to build it as safely as possible. So I have nothing more to say. And going and asking me to go around to neighbors and ask for letters, I have those letters from 21. I would not put myself through that again. Thank you.
At this time, any other member of the public who wishes to submit relevant information to the board may come forward and speak for a maximum of 3 minutes each. Please indicate whether you are for or against the project, or neither for or against the project. Staff will now make its final comments.
Mr. Chairman, we have no additional comments.
Does the applicant have any final comments? None. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I do just want to, if I can take an opportunity, just reconfirm with Dr. Martell, based on the applicant's statement here today, are you still able to render a decision that's fair and impartial based on the evidence and testimony presented?
100%.
Thank you.
Do any members of the board have any questions for the staff, the applicant, or anyone else? Okay.
I have a question here because I spoke with the applicant after October, and I suggested that her original plan and the original variance that she got, it would be sufficient. And the reason that they actually stopped her from going because she did not have the original variance. So I kind of advised her that, to the best of my knowledge, I think the best way to do is that go with the first variance she got and place the post where they were in the back, not on the seawall. So that's the only comment I make, and I don't know if she has decided to do that or not, but that's.
Yes, we did. We asked them in the last meeting, and they couldn't make the decision.
I have when was this house built, and did the applicant build the house?
I think
It's built in 1997.
What?
Built
Oh,
in-
Betty Bingham, excuse me, or Elizabeth, excuse me.
According to the records, it shows that she was the original homeowner. That was built, yes.
Can you verify that? You built the house?
I bought the lot in 96 and I built it in 97 and I got my CO.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a serious problem with this request. I know Aristotle said one swallow does not a summer make, but I think by granting the request, we may be setting a precedent. And my concern is that other people will use this as a rationale for extending their patios and buildings. Would it be possible to recommend that we send this back to the commission for them to look at the ordinance and see if it's a revision is necessary or reinforcement of the current ordinance should be made?
Well, I think it's a discussion among the board. Right now, we're
Okay.
concerned if you have any questions or concerns for anyone who spoke.
Oh.
So, okay. So I now declare this quasi judicial hearing closed. We'll now proceed with comments and deliberation. So, anything else to add, Bob?
No, it bothers me to look at the history and I understand that someone now is going to be proposing extending part of the, whatever is above the pool in another house, using this as a precedent. So I really think the ordinance needs to be reviewed by the commission.
By planning and the ordinance, by planning and zoning?
Planning and zoning.
Okay. Betty?
Well, the last time I said almost that same thing. You're setting a precedent of no setback, which if you allow this to go through, you will change the whole atmosphere in Ocean Ridge. The reason we have ordinances and setbacks is to try and maintain a certain type of community.
Any comments? Nick?
I have
Okay.
multiple
Okay.
comments here. Number one, I think not we as this board in particular, but we as a Board of Adjustments as a whole, have kind of forgotten that our job is to look at the criteria of what a variance is for. Number one, and the most important criteria is this a hardship? Is the hardship, by definition, according to our codes, is that this is unique to this property and to no other property in our community that's under this code. I can tell you this, and Christy, the town attorney, was more than subtle but good in showing us aerial views of Harbor Drive North, Harbor Drive South. Plenty of the houses are sitting that far back, mine included. So this is, number one, not unique to this property. So therefore, that doesn't meet the criteria. Number two, the other thing was about wind. We all deal with wind. There's nothing unusual. There's nothing been proven that this is the only property that has this type of wind issue where we can keep our umbrellas open, that we don't have to do that. Again, not a unique criteria for this. So therefore, I think this boils down to the variance of 2021, where this was granted at a point where I don't understand how this was approved based on what we're saying is if we approve this or we approve the previous one, that these conditions existed, that they didn't. There was no hardships because other properties in this town have the same issues, and it's definitely not unique to this. Number two, I've spoke to at least 6 or 7 of our surrounding neighbors that are affected across the water, to the west, to the east. Not one of them want this built, and not one of them are willing to be here and say anything about it for whatever reasons, not getting on their neighbor's bad side. It doesn't really matter, but I've spoke to them personally. So even though that isn't a criteria here, one of the criteria is this injurious to our neighbors? Well, one of them or 2 of them expressed that it could be injurious to them in the sense where they feel that if these types of structures are built down the canals, it would affect their property values. Property values decreasing is injurious to a neighbor. There's just so many things that are in favor of denying this variance that I don't see how this ever got approved to begin with. But all we're looking at right now apparently is just this variance, and that's my comments.
Yeah. Well, to go back in history, yeah, we felt it was a hardship for the applicant, and we want everyone in Ocean Ridge to be able to enjoy the greatest capacity of their homes and living here. The way it was presented, there was unique situations in this house with the tunnel effect of wind. The applicants had tried a number of other devices, umbrellas. They ended up in the pool. They were afraid it would end up in the intercoastal, blah, blah, blah. And they came up with this sun trellis as a viable option for them. The issue that I have is that, especially if the applicant had built the home, they're the one responsible for placing it on the lot. The fact that, they have too much front lot, not enough back lot or whatever, ultimately is on them. But every time this has come back to our committee, it seems like we want a little more, we want a little more, we want a little more. And it came from sun trellis to sun trellis and the balcony and larger sun trellis. And I personally would prefer if it was, if any, I don't like to see things built out to the seawall, especially attached to the seawall. I'm not sure about precedent. I like to think that every situation that comes before us is unique and does not necessarily set precedent, but human nature for what it is, it may embolden some other applicants. So as such, I would like to see the engineering, as Nick had pointed out, be redesigned, have the shade either moved on the property so the support can be cantilevered, or the support beams not necessarily go into the pool, but redesigned somehow that it doesn't have to come all the way out to the seawall.
I would like to speak to the wind factor, which I haven't before. I was a sailor, and yes, winds do shift. So I went around town for all the umbrellas. And when wind reaches a certain level, everybody takes their umbrellas down and tapes them up, and they stay in place. Now, yes, if you leave an umbrella up and the wind reaches 20 miles an hour, it is going to sail into the ocean. But if
I could speak to
in
that.
Florida, you should always have a wind.
Please, you had your opportunity to speak. Please do not interrupt. Thank you.
Saying my umbrella was
Everybody
open
has to
before.
consider wind in Florida, particularly the last month. But
Yeah.
it is something that the individual should be able to cope with.
If I may say here, obviously as far as attaching whatever structure to the seawall, I was against that originally, and I'm going to be totally against it. However, I believe she was granted the variance back in 2021 based on the initial design, which I still believe that would work. So I think even if this, the new variance is not approved, I think maybe she should be approved or reaffirmed the previous variance that she was granted, and if she can design around that.
There's also within the ordinances, a criteria that says if there's no other suitable substitute. Every house on that same canal, we all deal with the same thing. We all have awnings that are fixed. They're cantilevered, but they're fixed. Another alternative would be a rollout awning that you could take in and out when it was wind. So there are other alternatives. I happen to have an awning. The mayor has an awning. He lives right across the water from me. We know we can't go any further out than that, and that's all we can do.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I can.
Sure.
I on a motion to deny the variance without prejudice. So if she needs to have to come back, she doesn't have to go through a time limit. Do you?
I didn't,
Is that what that means, Christy? Can you explain that so we can all understand it?
So under the town's code, if a variance is denied, the applicant has to wait a year before they can come back with that variance or a similar variance. But if it's denied without prejudice, they don't have to wait that 1 year. They can come back. If the motion is to deny without prejudice, without any renewal of the original variance granted in 2021, what that would mean would be that the applicant can come back with perhaps, based on the comments made today, a different design that the board could then hear before, without her having to wait a year. But her 2021 variance for the sun trellis would still be lapsed.
would still be what?
Lapsed, expired.
Lapsed. It would not be renewed. So if that's just the motion to deny the current variance request without prejudice, then she would have the opportunity to perhaps redesign and come back before this board to ask for something similar or different.
Christie, how would that affect the previous variance?
Well, the variance,
It's expired.
the applicant testified that the variance for the balcony was completed. Assuming that's true, then that's done and that exists. So now what we're focusing on is the 2021 variance that was granted, where it was like a cantilevered sun trellis. That has lapsed because construction on that never commenced. So if you do not grant a further extension on that, then it remains in a lapsed condition.
Do I have a second for Nick's second? Okay.
So let me understand, make sure understand what my motion was. Basically, so we are denying this motion, this for variance now without prejudice, and also we are keeping the previous,
No.
we're not voiding the previous
The previous one
variance she
lapsed.
got. So we're not extending the lapse of the previous?
If that's just your motion, that your
Okay.
motion is to
Can I-
deny the current variance without prejudice, then the prior variance would be in a lapsed state. She could not build on that, but it would allow her to come back without having to wait a year.
But the other part of his question is are you including in that she can extend her previous variance?
That's if you want to amend your motion and then the second wants to.
Yeah,
also
I would like to amend, deny the current or this variance without prejudice and maintaining the previous approved variance or extending the previous approved variance.
And do you want to?
Do you want to make that
amend your
for,
motion?
is it automatically for 6 months?
Right, under the town's code, when you grant a variance, they have 6 months to commence construction. If they don't commence construction, they can ask the town manager for an automatic 6 months extension of that, but after that part, it lapsed and they have to come back to the Board of Adjustment.
Yes.
Okay, so, motion is modified. Do you second the modified motion? Great. We'll now take a final vote on this agenda item. Town clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Arceli?
Yes.
Member Sloat?
Yes.
Member Martell?
No.
Vice Chair Bingham?
No.
Chair Hendon.
Yes.
So the motion passes 3-2. So for the applicant, your 2021 variance for the sun trellis to be cantilevered has been renewed.
Wasn't cantilevered.
So you have six months to act on that under the town code. The variance to have it attached to the seawall has been denied without prejudice, so you would have a year if you wanted to come back with perhaps a different design. Okay?
Good morning, everybody. I know it's been so, I got here 3 collisions on the way down. I'm so frustrated, you can't imagine. May I just please say one thing? Okay, which was when our because we did commence the
I
construction.
appreciate that. They've made their ruling, so we can't take any more evidence or testimony at this
I
time.
understand, but I just want to say, I did. And I was stopped 3 times. I had to come into the city to the old inspector, and I had to change my engineering drawings at the cost of another $8,500 for engineering, because each time I tried to commence, he stopped me. All right, and I'm sorry, that's what I would have said. I drove an hour and a half to be here on time. I'm so frustrated. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
I know. The proceedings are now called to order on the next agenda item. Applicant Natalie Sweeney to consider the variance for 15 Tropical Drive. Town clerk, please read the agenda item.
This is an application submitted by Natalie Sweeney as applicant for a parcel of property located at 15 Tropical Drive, Ocean Ridge, Florida, 33435. Excuse me, requesting a variance from the provisions of the Land Development Code, Chapter 63, General Administrative Provisions, Article 7, variance from Section 63-117, grandfathered uses, lots and structures, with Section D1A states that no alteration, extension, enlargement, or expansion of a grandfathered structure shall be permitted in a way which increases its non-compliance with the present property development regulations of the land use zoning district in which it is located. Property is located at 15 Tropical Drive.
At this time, any ex parte communication should either be disclosed by identifying the subject of the communication and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, or any correspondence be provided to the town clerk and be made part of the public record. In addition, each member of the board may identify the existence of any investigations or site visits he or she has conducted and any expert opinions received, and disclose any conflicts of interest on this matter.
I just drove by the property, did not make a personal visit, just drove by it.
Okay. Thank you, Betty?
I drove by the property. I also drove up and down all the roads that were in Ocean because there were certain restrictions put on this area a long time ago. I wanted to see how many people had bought 2 lots and built a house. And I believe, and this is what I've been trying, that if you wanted to redo your house, it had to be built on exactly the same footprint when this Blue Ocean became Ocean Ridge.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I've been trying to verify that point, but I believe that's a fact.
Yeah, I think this property was built in 1950.
I know.
Yeah, okay. Nick?
I drove by the property as well as looking at the property appraisals, GIS and the Google, trying to locate exactly and how does it compare to the neighboring property.
I drive by it every day, but in a golf cart, so.
I did a drive-by as well, but did not stop and walk the property. We will then proceed with the hearing on this matter. Will the town clerk please swear in the witnesses?
Will anyone wishing to speak on this item, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
When you are called forward, please state your name and address clearly for the record and whether or not you've been sworn in.
The town staff will now make its presentation on this matter.
Good morning, Chair, board members, Corey O'Gorman, Town Planner. This is a request for a variance for the property at 15 Tropical Drive. The request is to section 63-117, which prohibits additions, expansions, and alterations to existing non-conforming buildings. The proposal, as indicated in the staff report, is to combine, let me back up for a moment. The existing property contains 4 units. One bedroom unit, 3 efficiencies. The property is 0.2 acres in size. The maximum density in the RMM district at 5 units an acre would allow just 1 unit. That makes the current development non-conforming. The proposal is to combine 2 of the units to make, or I'm sorry, 3 of the units to make 2 larger units, and then construct a new unit on the second level. The expansion of the unit would be an alteration to an existing nonconformity, and as currently identified in the code would not be allowed, which is why the applicant is requesting a variance to that section of the code. As is outlined in the staff report, the special circumstances and conditions that are identified in the application are regarding the density and the size of the property. However, these are similar circumstances that exist on other properties in the area, and the staff report takes the position that the special circumstances and conditions that are identified don't meet the criteria. The other criteria that we believe are also not met. So the staff recommendation is to consider the information in the report, consider the testimony that you'll hear this morning, and we're happy to answer any questions, and that concludes our presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. The applicant will now make its presentation on the matter.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Natalie Sweeney with Life Care Design. We were hired by our.
Could you speak into the mic, please? Thank you.
Yes. Our client bought this property about a year ago, and it has 4 existing units. It's a 1-story building. It's not centered on the property. It's off-centered because the other half of the property makes space for the septic system and leaching fields. And that is part of the hardship when we're speaking about putting it directly on top of the footprint of the actual building. The 2nd story couldn't go there because it has to be set in 15 feet from the one side. And that's why we have a narrow 2nd story. But the client wants to live there. He also wants to keep most of the rental units because that was how he would be able to afford this purchase and to be able to do both. And on the streets, it is conforming with the type of use that exists. There are several other properties there that do have a main residence with a few small rentals. So we are keeping the use the way it is. What he would like to do is add in order to maintain his 4 units, which he has already, is to combine 2 of the efficiencies. There's 3 efficiencies. To remove 1 efficiency so that the other 2 can grow into 1 bedrooms, basically dividing up the middle efficiency and making the back unit a 1-bedroom and the other middle unit a 1-bedroom. And then the front unit is already a 1-bedroom. And then allow a 1-bedroom unit that would be currently under code. It would be the proper square footage. I think a 1-bedroom is at least 850, from what I recall. So it would be a compliant 1-bedroom unit up on the proper NAVD elevation, which currently today everybody has to raise their buildings up. So even if we wanted to just extend on the same ground floor, we wouldn't be allowed to. We'd have to raise it up anyway. So it's almost like the new first story, really. And that's basically what we would like to do.
Okay, thank you.
I don't- We sent packets, so I'm sure that you've all reviewed that.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is what you would see. So the first floor and the patio with the breeze block in the front is all existing with those doors. That's the unit itself. And we would like to put on the second floor, just a small addition with a small, like 300 square feet that cantilevers over. And that allows for that clause in the zoning that says if you have a lot under 7,500 square feet, you're allowed to have, your building to area coverage is 45%. And that square footage up above, plus what's already existing, makes up that 45%. Where it's green right now is the front part behind the hibiscus with the existing bushes there. That's where the septic tank is, and then as you go back, it's the leaching fields.
Anything else to add?
Well, yeah, I am Herman Cortez Barrios. I'm the architect of record for this project. Natalie Sweeney is a partner. We are thrilled to be here, and this project is a fantastic possibility to enhance the street. The street is a nice street. There are two houses, similar one in the corner by the ocean, basically. Another one, two houses down from here. There's another modern house, kind of a very Floridian style. It's exactly what we want to achieve with this application. It's very simple, like Natalie expressed it pretty well. We are complying with this application with every single thing that is possible to have. Setbacks, density, and so on and so forth. And I think with this project, basically, not only we enhance what is in there, but also we have better tenants. Right now, there are 4 units in there. The first one in the front is a one-bedroom apartment, and the other ones are small bedroom apartment. So we think having a little better units, we can enhance the tenant, or the possible tenant that we can have in there. And the most important that you have to consider is the owner is going to be in there. It's not going to be an absentee owner, just, renting units for whatever is coming in there. He's going to be there, so it's for his best interest to be surrounded by good people, good tenants in there. Besides, the community is going to get a new resident that is willing to be part of the community. He is he's not here unfortunately, but I know him, we know him for a long time, and then he's a good person, he's a good contractor, he's a good construction person that also will be, he's willing to get his licensing here as a contractor so he can work also in the city and throughout Florida. And we are from Puerto Rico, you know that, but we are really excited to have this project there. We have a lot of things coming up in our company here, and then this one will be our first project, and really what I ask you is to be in favor of this project. Also to finish, the thing that you saw in there, the rendering that you saw in there, are basically, like I say, a preliminary sketch. It's not completely fully designed. Because first of all, we need to have this variance, I appreciate that you are going to give us. And secondly, is we have to manage the space inside, to do the best things for the other, and also for the town, of course. So if we have windows in here and there, the windows could be a little smaller, could be a little bigger, but still, we are going to comply with every single zoning ordinance or code that the city of the Ocean Reef has to have. Finally, I can say we had great report with the town clerk, and everyone that we have been working in the last year basically has been a great people to work. Our town engineer also, and of course Kevin, and So that's it. I hope you can really understand this one. It's not in opposition. It's basically something to improve the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify the better, word better, because the efficiencies, what our owner has come to see is he doesn't want to do Airbnb, so he wants long-term leases, and making a proper one-bedroom would allow for that. So he wants to have good tenants that are long-term leases.
Great, thank you. At this time, any other member of the public who wishes to submit relevant information to the board may come forward and speak for a maximum of 3 minutes each. Please indicate whether you are for or against the project, or neither for or against the project. Great.
All right, I'll just make this quick. I'm Greg Lee, 17 Tropical. I own the property immediately adjacent on the east side. And I'm for the improvement, anything to help improve that property, make it look better, the rendition that he provided there. And the owner will be living in part of it. In the last 40 years, I've lived there almost. It's been more or less absentee landlord, and the owner doesn't live there. They show up to collect my whatnot. So I'm for the project, just to let that be known.
Thank you.
Cherry Brown, Harvard ISOP. I don't live in this neighborhood. I know it really well. The thing that people need to remember is that this was actually part of the county at one time, and why the structures are like, it was a motel, transit kind of area, and the town banned all commercial property. So, but you still have these older places that have function. My issue with the proposal is that although there's no numbers in the documents, it appears to exceed that threshold of the 50% substantial improvement. So I don't know how anyone would be able to waive that at a Board of Adjustment hearing. I'm not sure that's possible. So all the owners would have to do is put new doors, new windows, and paint the inside and try to improve the property as it is, and not do any additional construction or what you'd call alterations, which Corey mentioned, instead of calling it remodeling it. There is an emotional attachment to that part of the town. A lot of people refer to it as, a subsection of town, not really part of Ocean Ridge, but it is part of Ocean Ridge, and we should try to help improve it, my comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Excuse me, can I respond to the question about the 50%? We were asking to present some sort of a budget of the construction cost, but there has to be less than 50% of the cost of replacement. Is what I understand. So then we present the actual appraisal, and then accordingly with the actual cost, we can put this addition in there for less than the appraisal, the 50% of the appraisal, which was, I think it was $145,000, something like that, in that neighborhood. No, you don't remember? Okay, it's great that you don't remember. But definitely we are underneath. And then I told you in the beginning, this gentleman, Joseph, is a contractor, is a builder. So for him, a build lower is okay because he's not going to get the house for 25% profit of his own money. No, it's not like that. So then, and secondly, the project is very simple, very, very simple, that is not really is going to increase anything more than 50%. I want to respond to the question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public who would like to speak? The staff will now make its final comments.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to add.
The applicant will now make final comments. Do you have any other comments to add?
Well, yeah, we greatly appreciate the approval on this, because it would allow him to continue on with his plans to actually be able to live down here, instead of flying back and forth from north. And also, By adding this addition up at the 9 feet, it helps for future resiliency in case, I guess the reason that they have this new, build up above the NAVD line is the future floodings or predicting future floods. And so this would help build resiliency into the property that we would need.
Thank you. Do any members of the board have any questions for staff or applicant, or anyone who has spoken on this item?
I have a question for the applicant. The improved value of the property, not the land value, is $113,000 right now per property appraisal. So are you suggesting all the changes you're making is like $60,000? Half of that, more than 50% of that?
No.
Or maybe I misunderstood the code. I thought it has to
We
do with
have
the.
the appraisal there where it says the cost of substantial improvement was like $400,000.
No, that's with the property.
And so
It's with the property.
the
Yeah, it's
cost
structural.
would be less than half of that. Adding that. 450,000, I forget the exact fee.
It was 145.
So the improvement is about 200, all the improvement of that thing is 200,000
Yes, I mean, it's a
with the
very,
addition and everything?
yeah, it's a simple structure. It's a simple addition of 800 square feet.
It's my understanding that the 50% is based on the structural, not the land value.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the structural value of the home is certainly not $400,000, am I wrong on that? If you had the land, it would be one thing. When you take away the land, now we have a whole nother value. And what I'm wondering is, what is that value that we use the 50% on?
You're correct. The value would not include the land. I don't have the appraisal that the applicant's referencing, but the property appraiser values the structure much lower than that.
Right.
No, we were told that it was based on the cost of substantial improvements. And so when we asked the broker to send us the appraisal showing that, that's when we got that one that had that figure of 400 and change.
Yeah. Well, we understand today's cost of construction, and that
And
can't
then
be.
he's a contractor, so he knows how to save costs, and he's not getting his profit margin on top of it, so.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think that was a comment that the town engineer made regarding the substantial improvement. And substantial improvement under the code is a term that if the improvements exceed 50% of the value of the existing structure, it becomes a substantial improvement. And once it becomes a substantial improvement, then in the case of the existing units, that floor elevation would need to come up to current FEMA regulations. So the variance that's before you today doesn't address that substantial improvement. The variance that's before you today addresses the expansion of the units themselves and addresses the density and the square footage of the lot. As pointed out in the staff report, with regard to specifically those items, these are similar conditions that exist on other lots along Tropical. So it does not meet the criteria for expansion of those units. But once again, it does not address substantial improvement and the issue of the need to bring up the floor elevation of those existing units. I hope that helps to clarify.
Question, if they bring up the floor elevation of those, what does that do to the neighboring properties as far as flooding goes?
Drainage.
I think that's an engineering question. Although I can say that any substantial improvement would require drainage to be accommodated on the site in accordance with the town code. So they would try to address any of the additional on-site retention that would be required in the development of the project. But I've spoken way outside my area of expertise. I'd like to defer to the town engineer.
Grimmon Senator.
Hello, Tara Bamberg, I'm engineer. So I just want to point out that this project is not, what you're reading for their variances does not include drainage, does not include septic, does not include, well, now we're talking about the finished floor of the existing. So I just wanted to clarify that, the setback of the driveways, I guess that would be per the substantial improvement. There's a lot of this stuff that would be per substantial improvement, but you're not making anything better in terms of drainage or septic. They had their septic tank cleaned out, but there's no limits of where their drain field is right now, or approval of creating this new system.
The septic though, the actual, if they're combining 3 units to 2, they're decreasing the
Well, they're adding
density.
another.
No, they're adding another one on top.
Yeah, so there's 4.
There's still
5.
There's still 4.
There's 4
But-
now.
Okay, so they're not adding.
They're not adding, but I am not a septic engineer, so they need to get approval from the health department that this is not impacting what they have right now. And I don't know how old what they have right now is, so that would be the health department's approval. But drainage wise,
Quandary.
it doesn't look like they're doing anything.
Right.
So they're not helping. And I don't know the situation of what it is right now. I've been going out there when it's raining.
Actually, I
know
think-
that area has
Has a problem, Tropical
Yeah.
has a problem with drainage.
Yeah,
And I think, I don't know if I agree with you on that, because when you add another structure, on the top, you're adding another shower and you're adding another bathroom. That adds to the drainage issue, even though the 2 units down the bottom will be combined, and technically 4 as opposed to 5, the bottom unit that's combined is still gonna have 2 bathrooms,
so
so it's still an
Exactly.
additional bathroom and shower.
that is not my approval, it's health department.
Right.
But I just want to say that they have not gotten, they have a form in their packet, but that's only for.
It doesn't go from
cleaning
3
out.
to 2. You have 4 on the bottom now. All they're doing is expanding 1 into 2. So you still would have 2 bathrooms on the one that they made larger.
Yeah.
They're not gonna take away a bathroom from that one. So it's still gonna have 4 bathrooms and showers in the bottom, and then a 5th bathroom and shower on the top. because
No, that's not right.
We're eliminating an
They're
efficiency
eliminating it.
downstairs. So
You're
we're-
expanding an efficiency downstairs. That's a big difference.
Yeah,
We're
they're
expanding the 2, but we're not
Ma'am,
adding.
can we get you on the mic, please? Thank you.
They're going from 3 to 2, so they're taking a bathroom away downstairs and they're adding.
We're taking kitchen and a bathroom away downstairs.
Well, nobody said you're taking a bathroom and a shower out of the
Well, we're eliminating an efficiency.
Okay, so here's
So
my
an
clarification.
efficiency
When you-
always has to have a bathroom and a kitchen.
Correct,
So
but
we're
when
eliminating that.
I don't like the word eliminating. What you're doing is expanding. You're taking efficiency and you're making it into a larger apartment, correct?
No.
Let me clarify. There's 4 units right now.
Correct.
The first one is already 1 bedroom.
Okay,
The next 3 are efficiencies.
correct.
So each efficiency has its own full bathroom and its own full kitchen.
Mhm.
The one in the middle, we're taking that one out. We're using that space. We'll put a wall in the middle. The back part will become a bedroom for this efficiency. I mean, if we could pull up, if we
No,
could
I just
pull
need a
up-
point of clarification. So what you're saying to me is, on the bottom floor, you're eliminating 1 bathroom.
And a kitchen.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get to. 'cause
Putting it
If you
up
didn't
above.
eliminate it, then you're up to an extra bathroom.
No.
But we are eliminating.
I said if you didn't eliminate.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
See, the L.
Right.
The blue L and the beige L were once that efficiency,
Right.
right there in the middle.
So it's just gonna be a 1 bathroom down there as opposed to
Right.
2 efficiencies
So
with 2
The
bathrooms.
beige unit still has that 1 bathroom, the kitchen, and the blue unit still has the 1 bathroom with the kitchen. We're
Perfect.
taking out that little efficiency in the middle.
Got
it. Okay.
Okay.
And then we're putting it up above.
Okay.
Now, we did have the septic clean, we had it analyzed, we got that form 840, 486, whatever, that says that it complies with the current 4-unit use and the current under air that we're supposed to have. And they said it's feasible where the tank is located right now and where the fields are right now. It's very feasible to just add a deeper tank, slightly deeper because it's a shallow tank. So they said it's very easy for them to redesign it. We just held off on that because we wanted an approval before we engage another fee, you know, to have it designed. That's it, but there's no problem with us doing that.
Gotcha.
In relation to the use of the septic tank, were these permanent residents that were living in each one of these, or these transfers? In the 4 units, were they permanently rented, or were they rented by the week?
Well, he had the ones in the middle, they were like month to month, and he wanted to, you know, he didn't want that anymore, the ones from month to month. The one in the front was permanently rented. He was having trouble keeping the deficiencies rented. We're supposed to have full one bedrooms.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for the applicant.
Sure.
Looking at the property appraiser's information, I noticed that he's owned this since December of 2023, but it's not homesteaded. Is he planning on homesteading it when he moves here, or is he gonna still live up in New York and come down?
He's gonna live in here,
So he's gonna homestead the property?
yes.
Okay.
That's his goal, is to become a resident.
Do any members of the board have any other questions for the applicant? I now declare this quasi judicial hearing closed. We'll now proceed with comments and deliberation by the board. Okay.
I start here. I don't see enough information here as far as, you know, the cost, the whole project and everything else to really justify anything. There is need to be a lot more information, especially when the cost comes, you know, that addition, that modification, that thing is not 100,000 or 150,000 to me. So that's my comment here.
I sound like a broken record, but I'm going to say it anyway. You know, we talk about all these details, whether the owner's going to live here or not. I get those are great things. It's not our job. Our job is to determine, do they meet the criteria of getting a variance? We already know that according to the size of this property, 0.12 acres, that this should be one home on this property. And therefore, it's not, and there's other properties on Tropical that are in the same boat. So this is not unique to this property. So therefore, it doesn't meet the criteria. And therefore, a lot of what we're saying here, although nice, is irrelevant.
Ready?
Well, Mr. Brown brought up a point. At one time, this was county. And when the county wanted to join Ocean Ridge, very strict stipulations were put on the structures. If anything happened, you had to build on exactly the same footprint. And frankly, the purpose of that regulation was to make people buy 2 or 3 lots to build a house. And if you go through that entire Blue Ocean area, you will see that a lot of people did buy 2 lots and did build on them. And I think if we pass something like this, allowing people to circumvent what was originally intended, we're not being fair to the people who have done as were requested.
Okay. Bob?
I think Betty said what I was thinking.
Yeah, stop with the thought bubbles. Okay. I hear what you're saying, you know, as far as the purpose of Board of Adjustment, but that's why we have variances. I'm also very pro to improve our neighborhoods, and this seems to not impact density. Certainly physical structure improves. The density actually doesn't change. And the footprint actually doesn't change in that you're removing, from my review of your submission, the back stairs and a shed, and you're cantilevering the second floor over the area. However, to Nick's point, I can't believe this is non-substantial improvement. So because of that, before I would allow a variance, I'd like to see that it meets that criteria. because otherwise, if it's substantial improvement, which it certainly seems like it is, then many other ordinances come involved.
Mr. Chair, if I may, from a legal point, and picking up on what Corey O'Gorman said, the variance before you is to allow them to expand a non-conforming structure. If, when they go to, with more finalized plans and move forward with it, if the determination is made that they do trigger the substantial improvement issue, they will be required to bring the entire site up to code, which means they will have to raise the building. So that's in the normal course of development for the town. The issue of substantial improvement often comes in when they submit plans and we have detailed plans to review. They can submit an appraisal to say, here's why we don't meet substantial improvement, but that's an analysis that town does. The variance that's really before you is to allow them to expand a non-conforming use. And so they're requesting the variance from that provision of the code, which is consistent with Member Bingham's comments that our code does not allow you to expand a non-conforming building. They could certainly rehab the existing footprint and utilize the existing footprint and rehab it substantially, take it back all the way to the studs. They would have that right under the code. What they don't have a right under the code right now is to build on top and expand a non-conforming use. So that's really the only variance before you. And just to comment from a legal standpoint on what Dr. Martell has mentioned, that one of the issues that staff struggled with this is, yeah, they have a drain field, but everybody has a drain field and septic issues on their property. That's not unique to this property. This is a self-imposed hardship. They desire to expand a non-conforming building with new construction. From a legal standpoint, that doesn't meet the standard. And that's why staff's report says this is a really hard position, and while staff can appreciate an improvement to a building, the whole reason we have a non-conforming provision in our code is to require people to improve their properties consistent with the current code. So I just want to add that from a legal standpoint, that's one of the issues staff has had with this application.
Thank you. Any other comments? I now declare this quasi-judicial hearing closed. We'll now proceed with the deliberation and entertain a motion. Someone like to make a motion?
I motion to deny the variance request.
Second.
I didn't hear him.
The motion was to deny the variance request, seconded by Mr. Slough. We'll now take a final vote on this agenda item. Town clerk, will you please call the roll?
Member Arsali?
Yes.
Member Sloat?
Yes.
Member Martell?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bingham?
Yes.
Chair Hendon?
No. The motion carries 4-1. I now declare this hearing closed. Thank you.